We have the latest from Russia's war in Ukraine. And there's a backlash in Russia over Vladimir Putin's decision to call up reservists for combat duty. People are staging protests and authorities are cracking down. This is video showing protesters facing police chanting "No to war" in Moscow. After speaking about the war in public in Russia itself, that is an act of defiance. Condemning it, or the Russian military, is a crime. Demonstrations like that are being reported in dozens of cities, and a Russian human rights group says there have been hundreds of arrests. Abby Kugadasan joins us now from London. Abby, let's start with these protests. They're being described as the largest since Russia invaded Ukraine. What are we seeing?
John, we saw near immediate reaction there. Overnight, anti-draft demonstrations led to arrests. About 1,400 people were detained, mostly in Moscow and St. Petersburg, following the news of a partial mobilization. The Kremlin is out of volunteers for its invasion of Ukraine, so they're going to call up about 30,000 reservists with some combat experience. The Kremlin has repeatedly called this a special military operation, not a war, but there hasn't been a military draft in Russia since the Second World War, and there are also fears in Russia of a broader call-up, of a wider mobilization. And it has to be said that some Russians have been protesting their country's war of Ukraine since the beginning, nearly 7 months ago. They've spoken about being fined and even beaten in custody. Officials there deny that people have been harmed in detention. But as you said, we're seeing some larger demonstration now after Vladimir Putin's announcement of a partial mobilization.
Abby, we're also seeing reports of Russians fleeing the country in response to this call up. What do we know about that?
John, most Russians aren't out on the streets protesting, but they're showing their concern by leaving the country altogether. The Russian state railway website crashed because there were simply too many people looking for tickets. Some flights out of the country sold out within minutes of Putin's announcement. There were some one-way economy seats that surged in price, some surpassing $9,000 US. And as we know, there are very few flights into Europe. Only Serbia is still scheduling trips out of Russia. The Moscow to Belgrade route operated by Air Serbia is sold out for the next few days. By road, there are long lineups at the Georgian border as people try to leave. And Finland's border guard says they're seeing increased activity there as well. It's not clear if this is the beginning of a larger exodus, but clear signs that some Russians are making it very clear that they feel about how they feel about the Kremlin's latest moves, John.
Thanks, Abby. Abby Kugadasan in London.